Not everyone who smiles at you means it. In Maple Ridge, a quiet little town tucked between the pines, 68-year-old Gloria Whitmore thought she was heading into nothing more than a warm family dinner. But one evening shattered that illusion, revealing cold eyes, sharpened whispers, and the heartbreaking truth that sometimes the deepest wounds come from the people who should have welcomed you with open arms. This is her quiet comeback. If this kind of story speaks to you, feel free to subscribe and tell me where you're listening from. Now, let's begin. Maple Ridge had always been the kind of town where the mornings smelled like pine sap and old stories, quiet, predictable, safe. At least, that's what it looked like from the outside. But behind the soft hills and the well-swept porches lived a truth Gloria Whitmore had learned over 68 years. Even the gentlest places could hide storms you never saw coming. On a cool September morning, Gloria stepped onto her porch with a steaming mug of chamomile tea and watched the mist roll off the ridge. Her garden rows of roses tended for decades, glistened with a thin sheet of dew. It was the world she built with steady hands, steady work, and a steady heart. But today, as she looked out over the quiet street, something inside her whispered that change was already on its way. Shock came in small ripples, not grand waves. And the first ripple arrived when her son, Daniel, pulled into her driveway. He rarely visited this early. She opened her screen door. "Daniel? Honey, is everything all right?" Daniel jogged up the steps, his expression pulled tight with excitement and nerves. "Mom, I've got news." Gloria set her tea aside. "The good kind? I'm getting married." Those 3 words danced through the air. Gloria felt her breath catch not from fear, but from the overwhelming rush of joy. "Oh, Daniel," she whispered, pulling him into a hug. "That's wonderful. It gets better." He stepped back, eyes shining. "Her name's Lydia Caraway. She's amazing, smart, kind, thoughtful. You're going to love her, Mom." But as he spoke, a small, almost invisible shadow crossed his face, one most parents would miss. Gloria didn't. She'd spent 40 years reading the micro-expressions of people in pain, fear, and distress as a nurse. She recognized that shadow instantly: uncertainty, a flicker of something unspoken. "Daniel," she said softly, "is there something you want to tell me?" He hesitated a moment too long. "It's nothing, Mom, really. I just want everything to go well when you meet her family." There it was, the second ripple, a subtle warning wrapped inside a sentence too polite to question. But Gloria didn't push. She placed a gentle hand on his arm. "I'm sure it will be lovely." He smiled, relieved. But that shadow lingered. Mystery, she thought quietly, has a way of showing its edges before it reveals its shape. Daniel introduced Lydia to Gloria 2 days later. The doorbell rang, and Gloria wiped her hands on her apron, smoothing her blouse. When she opened the door, she found a young woman with glossy blonde hair, flawless makeup, and a polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Mrs. Whitmore," Lydia said, offering a firm handshake. "It's so nice to meet you." Gloria returned the handshake warmly. "Please call me Gloria." Lydia stepped inside, glancing around the humble living room with curated interest, her gaze lingering on the old bookshelf, the framed photos, the worn but well-kept furniture. It wasn't judgment, not exactly. It was assessment. Gloria had seen that look before from hospital board members evaluating her unit, from wealthy families deciding if she was professional enough to trust. Another ripple. She guided Lydia and Daniel to the kitchen table, where she had prepared tea and blueberry scones. Lydia sipped politely. Daniel filled in the conversation. Gloria asked soft questions, trying to know the woman her son had chosen. But something in Lydia's answers rang hollow, too polished, too careful. "Your home is quaint," Lydia said at one point, her tone balancing on the thin edge between compliment and condescension. Gloria smiled politely. "It's where Daniel grew up." "Yes," Lydia replied, tilting her head. "He told me, though I imagine he'll be moving soon. My parents are giving us one of their lake houses." Daniel cleared his throat. "We haven't decided anything yet." A simple sentence, a small tension, a subtle flare of discomfort in Lydia's eyes. Gloria saw all of it. The storm hadn't arrived yet, but she could feel the pressure building. The next few days blurred into a soft rush of wedding talk. Daniel visited often, though he spoke less about the marriage and more about logistics. Gloria listened, offered gentle advice, and kept her worries tucked beneath her ribs. But on a Wednesday evening, as she sat sorting old photo albums, she received a text from Daniel. "Mom, Lydia's parents want to invite you to dinner this weekend. They said it's important." Important. The word hit harder than she expected. Because when people emphasized importance, they were often preparing judgment, just like the hospital administrators who once questioned her leadership, just like the neighbors who whispered when she struggled after her husband died, just like the world that had a way of deciding who had value and who didn't. She tucked her phone away and folded her hands in her lap. Shock didn't always come from events. It often came from realizing that the world you thought was safe still had sharp corners. But mystery lingered too. What did Lydia's parents want? Why did Daniel look so afraid when he mentioned them? Why did Lydia's smile feel like a mask stitched too tightly? She whispered into the quiet house, "Walter, if only you were here. You always read people better than I did." Her late husband's absence felt heavier than usual, but Gloria wasn't weak, she wasn't fragile, and she certainly wasn't afraid of a dinner invitation no matter how sharp the edges might be. She stood, straightened her back, and walked to the mirror. "This is nothing," she told her reflection. "You've survived far worse." And she had. She'd survived losing her husband young. She'd survived raising a son alone. She'd survived night shifts in crowded ER rooms. She'd survived the quiet loneliness of retirement. A dinner with strangers would not break her. Still, the whisper of a mystery lingered in the room. Something about Lydia's family didn't feel right. Something Daniel wasn't saying. Something waiting like a held breath. She felt it in her bones. The day before the dinner, Daniel stopped by again. He paced her living room, opening and closing his hands anxiously. "Daniel," she said gently, "whatever you're trying to tell me, you can." He froze, then exhaled. "Mom, just be prepared, okay? Lydia's parents can be intense." Gloria tilted her head. "Intense how?" He looked away. "They care a lot about appearances." Appearances. A word that had injured many people in this world. She placed a hand on his arm. "Honey, I know who I am, and am not afraid of who they are." He looked at her, eyes softening with relief. "I know. I guess I just don't want them to hurt you." Ah, there it was. Not fear for himself, fear for her. She cupped his cheek. "I've lived long enough to know how to handle sharp people without cutting myself." He smiled faintly, but Gloria saw the truth behind his eyes, and that truth whispered louder than anything Lydia had ever said. Mystery wasn't just hovering, it was weaving itself into the weekend ahead. That night, as Gloria prepared for bed, she paused by her phone and opened a blank note. She typed, "If you're here with me so far, stay close. Some stories look peaceful on the outside, but the truth reveals itself one layer at a time. If you want to follow my journey as it unfolds, hit like to help more listeners find stories like this, stories that begin quietly but grow into something deeper." She saved the note to include later during her narration. Then she turned out the lights, unaware that the dinner waiting for her would mark a line she could never uncross. The Caraway estate sat on the far end of Maple Ridge, perched on a hill where old money liked to look down on the rest of the world. Gloria Whitmore had seen big houses in her lifetime. She'd cared for wealthy patients, walked through mansions, soothed the sick in rooms larger than her own home. But she had never once felt out of place in any of them. Tonight, though, something in her chest tightened as she climbed the steps to the massive carved door. Daniel stood beside her, shifting anxiously. "Mom, remember, just be yourself." Gloria squeezed his hand. "That's the only person I know how to be." Before she could knock, the door opened. A woman in a silk blouse and diamonds that sparkled like frost smiled thinly at her. "Mrs. Whitmore, I presume. I'm Evelyn Caraway." Her tone was polite, her eyes were not. Beside her appeared Mitchell Caraway, tall, stiff, and carrying the kind of posture only men who'd never heard the word no could maintain. "Come in," Evelyn said, stepping aside just enough to let Gloria through. The foyer gleamed. Marble floors, sculptures perched like silent judges, a chandelier that dripped crystals like icicles. It wasn't the luxury that unsettled Gloria, it was the silence. The way every sound she made felt too loud, too human, too real. Lydia appeared a moment later, greeting Gloria with a kiss on the cheek, but even that was careful. Staged, almost. "Dinner is ready," Evelyn announced. "We like to eat on time." They led Gloria into a dining room where a long mahogany table stretched like a runway. Gloria sat beside Daniel while Evelyn and Mitchell took the head seats. Almost immediately, the subtle blows began. "So, Gloria," Mitchell said smoothly as the first course arrived, "Daniel tells us you're retired." "Yes," Gloria replied warmly. "After 40 years in nursing." Evelyn's eyebrows lifted. "Nursing? That must have been fulfilling." She said the word as though speaking of a hobby, not a vocation that saved lives. "It was," Gloria said simply, "and retirement funds for nurses," Evelyn continued, swirling her wine, "are modest, aren't they? I imagine Daniel helps with some of your expenses." Daniel's grip on his fork tightened. Gloria smiled gently. "I've always taken care of myself." "Of course," Evelyn said, smiling back in a way that didn't match her tone. "Though with the wedding coming, financial stability will matter more than ever." Mitchell nodded. "Our family has certain standards." There it was. The quiet sting behind every sentence, the unspoken measurement, the evaluation of worth. Gloria felt each remark like a pinprick, small, sharp, and perfectly placed. As the second course arrived, the comments sharpened. "I hear you live alone," Mitchell noted. "Must be manageable." "Oh, it is. And the neighborhood," Evelyn added. "It's charming in a simple way. Daniel must visit often to make sure everything is maintained." Daniel opened his mouth, but Gloria touched his hand lightly to stop him. She could handle this. The next blow came wrapped in velvet. "We want the best for Lydia," Evelyn said, lifting her glass, "and for Daniel. Naturally, we hope the families they come from reflect certain values." Gloria met her eyes. "I agree. Values are important." "Exactly," Evelyn said, missing the point entirely. "Appearances matter." The room felt smaller suddenly. The chandelier overhead felt heavier. Gloria swallowed, her throat tight. Emotional pain crept in not from the insults themselves, but from the realization that her son was sitting between two worlds, pulled taut, ashamed of the family that raised him, and terrified of disappointing the family he was marrying into. She saw the way he avoided her eyes. That hurt far more than anything Evelyn had said. Dessert had not yet arrived when Evelyn delivered the final strike with perfect social sweetness. "Gloria, dear," she said, setting her napkin beside her plate, "Mitchell and I have been talking, and we'd like to make you an offer." "An offer?" Gloria's stomach sank. "We are willing," Evelyn continued, "to provide you with $900 a month. No strings attached. Simply a gesture. A way to ensure that Daniel and Lydia can start their new life without concerns about appearances or unnecessary complications." Daniel's head snapped up. "Mom, I didn't know they." Evelyn cut him off with a gentle laugh. "It's nothing personal. We just think that, for certain events, it would be best if the family presented as unified, polished, appropriate." Appropriate, a word that sliced like a surgeon's scalpel. The table blurred a little in front of Gloria. She felt every year of her age settle onto her shoulders, felt her sacrifices, decades of night shifts, scraped knuckles, double shifts, caretaking strangers, burying her husband, raising her son alone, reduced to a price tag of $900 a month. Her chest tightened. Not in fear, in heartbreak. "Is that what you think of me?" Gloria whispered, not to Evelyn, but to Daniel. Daniel's lips parted. "Mom, no, you're ashamed of me. No." His voice cracked, raw and desperate. "Mom, I'm not," but she saw it there. The shame he tried to hide. The fear that the world Lydia came from would judge him by the woman who raised him. Gloria inhaled shakily. Her hands trembled under the table. She fought to steady them, to steady herself. Shed endured far worse pain, broken bodies, broken hearts, broken families. But there was a particular agony in realizing your own child feared the judgment of strangers more than he honored the strength of his own mother. Evelyn mistook the silence for consideration. "It's quite a generous offer," she said lightly. "Many people in your situation would be grateful. Hello, I'm delighted to assist you with our voice services. Choose a voice that resonates with you, and let's begin our creative audio journey together. Evelyn's lips twitched, uncertain whether to bristle or pretend politeness. Gloria continued, her voice quietly fierce. I have more than enough to take care of myself. I always have, and I won't trade my self-respect for your approval. Silence swallowed the room whole. Mitchell shifted uncomfortably. Lydia covered her mouth. Daniel let out a breath that sounded like it had been trapped for years. Evelyn opened her mouth, perhaps to argue, perhaps to retreat, but Gloria stood before she could speak. I think I've had enough hospitality for one night. She turned to Daniel. Walk me out, sweetheart. He rose instantly. As they stepped into the cool night air, Gloria felt her chest loosen, but her heart still ached, raw and tender. Daniel stopped her beside the car. Mom, I'm so sorry. Gloria cupped his cheek, her thumb brushing away a tear he didn't want her to see. You don't need to be sorry, she whispered. But you do need to choose the life that honors who you are, not who someone else wants you to be. Daniel swallowed hard. I'm scared they won't accept me if I stand up to them. Gloria smiled sadly. Then, they were never your family to begin with. He pulled her into a hug, tight, desperate, full of the love had been afraid to show at that table. As she held him, Gloria's heart broke and healed at the same time, because the pain was real, and so was the love. Before getting into her car, she rested a hand on Daniel's arm. If you're still here with me through this part of the journey, tap like to help more people discover stories like this, stories where quiet strength and steady hearts speak louder than wealth ever could. She drove home, the headlights cutting through the darkness, unaware that tonight's pain would soon lead her toward a purpose bigger than any shed ever known. The drive home from the Caraway estate felt longer than usual, even though the night was calm and the familiar winding roads of Maple Ridge stretched in front of her like a path she had traveled 1,000 times. Gloria Whitmore held the steering wheel lightly, trying to steady her breath. The hush of the dark forest, the soft hum of the engine, none of it eased the ache forming deep inside her chest. The humiliation still clung to her skin like cold mist. She replayed the dinner in flashes, the polished smiles, the veiled insults, the $900 offer, Daniel's tight jaw. And the moment she realized her son was afraid to look her in the eye because he didn't know where he belonged anymore. It wasn't anger she felt, it was something quieter, sharper, a deeper kind of pain, the kind that came from loving someone so much that their fear became your wound. When she finally pulled into her driveway, Gloria cut the engine and sat in the silence. The porch light glowed faintly against the darkness. Her roses rustled softly in the evening breeze. Everything about home felt safe, familiar, solid, and yet something had shifted inside her. She walked slowly up the steps and unlocked the door. The warmth of the house greeted her, but she didn't turn on any lights. She moved through the rooms guided only by memory and the faint light from outside. She set her purse down, removed her shoes, stood still. Then she walked straight to the hallway closet. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the old wooden box on the top shelf, the one she kept not because it held valuables, but because it held memories. Her old nursing ID, photos of Daniel as a toddler, a few letters from her late husband, small tokens from the life she lived long before tonight. Gloria carried the box to the kitchen table and sat down. The moonlight spilled through the window, brushing everything in a soft glow. She opened the box. Her nursing badge rested on top. The metal was worn but still held its shine. Nurse Supervisor, Gloria Whitmore. The title had once defined her. And tonight, when Evelyn Caraway had insinuated that Gloria was a burden, this badge had flashed through her mind like a truth trying to break free. Gloria lifted it gently, her thumb brushing over the engraved letters as she whispered, "You didn't work all your life, just to shrink for people who don't know your worth." She set the badge beside her and took out the old photographs, her husband leaning against their first car, his arms wrapped around her, Daniel blowing candles on his 5th birthday, a photo of Gloria in her scrubs, smiling beside a group of nurses she had trained. These weren't just moments, they were proof. Proof of a life lived with grit, sacrifice, integrity. And in that quiet kitchen, something inside Gloria clicked into place. A shift, a spark, a turning point. She straightened in her chair. She would not let the Caraways define her. She would not let their money or condescension diminish what she had built. She would not be bought, hidden, or softened into silence. She had survived too much to retreat now. As she gathered the photos back into the box, Gloria heard a soft knock at the door. She froze. It was nearly 11 at night. Another knock, gentle, uncertain. She stood, walked to the door, and opened it. Daniel. His eyes were red, his shoulders slumped, his expression raw. "Mom." His voice cracked. "I couldn't sleep." Gloria stepped aside. "Come in." He entered silently, head bowed like a child who had disappointed his teacher. "I just needed to see you," he murmured. Gloria touched his arm. "Sit. Tell me what's weighing on you." Daniel sat at the kitchen table, elbows on his knees, hands clasped like he was holding something fragile. "Mom, I'm sorry for tonight. I should have defended you sooner." "Daniel, no. Let me say this." He lifted his head. "I've always known my place with you. You raised me with so much love, so much strength. But when I'm around the Caraways, I feel like I'm shrinking. Like who I am isn't enough. And tonight, when they talk to you like that." His voice shook. "I hated myself for not stopping it." Gloria's throat tightened. She had known pain before, but hearing her son unravel like this carved something new and tender inside her. "You are enough," she said firmly. "Daniel, you are enough, exactly as you are." He wiped his eyes. "I don't want to lose her, Mom. But I don't want to lose myself either." "And you won't," she said. "As long as you remember that a family built on fear won't survive, but a family built on truth will." He nodded slowly. Silence settled between them, thick but healing. Then Gloria reached into the wooden box and pulled out a photograph. Daniel at age 7, grinning widely, missing 2 front teeth, holding a trophy from his first science fair. She handed it to him. "This," she said, "is who you are. Not the man they want you to be. The man you've always been. The one who worked hard, who loved deeply, who stood by me when your father died. Don't ever let anyone make you doubt that." Daniel looked at the picture, his lips trembling. "Mom, you don't deserve what happened tonight." "No one does," Gloria replied. "But that's why tonight matters. Because now we know the truth." He swallowed hard. "What truth?" "That respect isn't given to us by people with money or status. It's earned by how we live. And I've lived enough years to know my worth doesn't shrink because someone else fails to see it." Daniel closed his eyes, absorbing her words. Then he reached across the table and took her hand. "I love you, Mom." She squeezed his hand gently. "I love you too." For a moment, time felt still. Safe. Right. Then Daniel said something that marked the true turning point of the night. "I want Lydia in my life, but not if it means choosing between her family and the woman who raised me. I'm going to talk to her, really talk to her. And if she can't stand with me, then she's not the right person." Gloria inhaled sharply, pride swelling in her chest. "You're stronger than you think, Daniel. I learned from you," he said. The words melted the last remnants of the evening's pain. Daniel stood, hugged her tightly, and left with a calmer heart. When the door closed, Gloria turned off the kitchen light and stood in the dark. But she didn't feel small. She didn't feel ashamed. She didn't feel alone. She felt awake, alive, and ready. She whispered into the stillness, "If you're walking with me through this moment, if you feel the shift happening just as I do, tap like so this story reaches more hearts that need to hear it." Then she went to bed with the quiet certainty that tonight, however painful, had opened a new path, one where truth would no longer be silent. And neither would she. The morning after the disastrous dinner, Gloria Whitmore awoke earlier than usual. Not because she slept well, she barely slept at all, but because her heart felt heavy, full of thoughts she could no longer ignore. As sunlight slipped through the curtains, she sat up slowly, listening to the quiet hum of Maple Ridge beyond her window. It was the kind of silence that felt too still. The kind that arrives when something inside you has shifted. She went to the kitchen, brewed a pot of tea, and tried to settle her breathing. The memory of Evelyn's voice still echoed in her mind, sharp, polished, cold. But even sharper was the image of Daniel, torn between two worlds, unable to protect the woman who raised him. She held her teacup with both hands. "Something has to change," she whispered, and that was when she heard the knock. A soft, hesitant knock that didn't belong to a stranger. She opened the door to find Lydia standing on the porch, her eyes red, her shoulders trembling as if she had been crying for hours. "Gloria, may I come in?" Gloria stepped aside. "Of course." Lydia entered slowly, almost cautiously, like she was afraid the house might reject her. She didn't sit until Gloria gestured to the kitchen table. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Lydia broke. "I'm so sorry," she blurted, covering her face with both hands. "I'm so sorry about everything, my parents. The dinner, what they said. I didn't know they were going to do that." Gloria remained calm, but her heart softened. "Sit down, dear. Breathe." Lydia lowered her hands, tears streaking her cheeks. "I should have stopped them. I should have defended you." "You're young," Gloria said gently. "And they're overwhelming. That's not an excuse." Lydia shook her head. "I've lived my whole life controlled by them. Every decision I've made, from what I wore to who I dated, they had a say in. I thought I escaped that with Daniel, but last night showed me I'm still trapped." Gloria rested her hand on Lydia's. "You're not trapped. You're waking up." Lydia let out a shaky breath. "I don't want to lose Daniel, and I don't want him to lose you because of them." "He won't lose me," Gloria murmured. "But he does need to understand what kind of future he's choosing." Lydia nodded, wiping her eyes. "Last night, I saw my parents clearly for the first time. The way they looked at you like you were beneath them. It made me sick." Gloria inhaled slowly. "People who live behind walls of money often forget what real worth looks like." Lydia swallowed hard. "I'm ashamed. I grew up thinking their behavior was normal, that belittling people was just how the world works. But last night it was like watching a movie from the outside, and I hated every minute of it." Gloria felt a quiet ache in her chest. Awareness is painful, but it's the beginning of change. Lydia nodded, eyes glistening. "I want to be better than them. I want Daniel and me to build a family based on kindness, not status. But I'm scared." "Of what?" "That they'll reject me, disown me, cut me off." Lydia looked down. "I know that may sound selfish. It's human," Gloria said gently. "No one wants to lose their family." Lydia's voice cracked. "But I don't want to become them." A long silence settled between them. Then Gloria spoke softly. "Daniel loves you, truly. But love without boundaries becomes sacrifice. If you and Daniel are going to build something strong, you must stand on your own feet. Both of you." Lydia nodded again, this time with a steadier breath. "We will. We talked last night after he dropped you off. We both see it now. We're going to set boundaries with my parents. Real ones." Gloria felt something warm flicker inside her, a small light, fragile but undeniable. "Progress." Lydia reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. "I wrote something for you. I didn't know how to say it in person." Gloria opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter, a vulnerable, messy, heartfelt apology, each line trembling with sincerity. Lydia apologized for her silence, for her upbringing, for not seeing the truth sooner. She promised to protect Daniel, to protect herself, and to treat Gloria with the respect she deserved. When Gloria finished reading, she looked up. "Lydia, this means more to me than you know." Lydia held her breath. "Do you forgive me?" Gloria smiled gently. "Yes, because you came here, because you're trying." Lydia exhaled in relief, shoulders sagging. Gloria poured her a cup of tea. They talked for nearly an hour, not about the dinner, not about Evelyn or Mitchell, but about life. Lydia's fears, Daniel's dreams, Gloria's past as a nurse, the small joys that made Maple Ridge feel like home. It felt like two women meeting for the first time, really meeting. And then came the moment that changed everything. Lydia said, "Gloria, I want you to be part of our wedding planning, not as a guest, as family." Gloria's heart tightened. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Lydia whispered, "because you're the kind of family I want to learn from." Those words landed with a softness that felt like a gift. A new beginning, a new bond, a new direction. But beneath that warmth, another truth quietly surfaced, one that would shape Gloria's next steps. If Lydia, a young woman raised in privilege, could break free from old patterns and choose kindness, how many other people were waiting for someone to show them the same possibility? How many quiet lives in Maple Ridge carried wounds no one saw? How many elderly neighbors sat alone at kitchen tables, nursing invisible bruises from unkind children, unkind relatives, unkind communities? Gloria's heart stirred. A whisper inside her said, "There is more work to be done, a different kind of healing, a different kind of purpose." As Lydia stood to leave, she hugged Gloria tightly, the first genuine embrace between them. "Thank you," Lydia whispered, "for listening, for forgiving, for being you." Gloria held her close. "Go build your own life, sweetheart, one that feels like yours." When Lydia left, Gloria remained at the table, staring at the letter. She felt it with her entire being. Something important had shifted, not just for Daniel and Lydia, for herself, for her future, for the quiet truth she hadn't yet spoken aloud. This moment wasn't just reconciliation, it was revelation. And it was only the beginning. The weeks that followed Lydia's visit drifted by slowly, like the last warm breezes before autumn surrendered to winter. But something inside Gloria Whitmore had shifted in a way she couldn't ignore. She woke up earlier, moved with more purpose, listened more closely to herself, to the world, to the quiet stories tucked inside the people she passed every day in Maple Ridge. One Tuesday morning, as she was returning from the grocery store, she noticed her neighbor Mrs. Talbot, 83, frail and always polite, standing on her porch with her arms wrapped around herself. The woman looked small, frightened. "Are you all right?" Gloria asked, setting her grocery bags down. Mrs. Talbot blinked, startled. Then she forced a thin smile. "Oh, Gloria. I'm fine. Just tired." It was a lie. A gentle lie, but a lie nonetheless. Gloria stepped closer. "What happened?" The old woman hesitated before sighing. "My nephew, he asked for a small loan again. For the third time this month. I told him I couldn't help anymore and he said some things." "What kind of things?" "That if I really cared about family, I wouldn't hoard money at my age," she whispered. "That maybe I wasn't thinking clearly anymore." The words hit Gloria like a cold wind, sharp and familiar. She had heard almost the same sentences at the Caraway dinner table, the same tone, the same condescension, wrapped in false concern. A dark tremor moved through her, the kind that arrives when you suddenly realize your pain is not yours alone. She reached for Mrs. Talbot's hand. "You're not confused, and you're not wrong. You're protecting yourself." Tears welled in the old woman's eyes. "Thank you, dear. Sometimes I wonder if I'm becoming invisible." "You're not invisible," Gloria said softly. "You just need someone to see you." Later that afternoon, she found herself at the Maple Ridge Community Hall. She didn't plan to go there. Her car simply turned into the parking lot, as though guided by something she had been ignoring for too long. Inside, chairs were arranged in a circle. A sign on the wall read, "Senior Support Meeting, every Thursday at 2 p.m. The facilitator, a middle-aged woman named Jan, greeted her kindly. "Are you here for the meeting?" Gloria hesitated. She didn't like the idea of being seen as someone who needed help, but she wasn't here for help, not exactly. She was here because something inside her said she had more to understand. "Yes," she finally said. "I'd like to sit in." She took a seat among 7 others, some elderly, some middle-aged caretakers, and one man in his 70s who looked like he hadn't slept in days. Jan began gently. "This is a safe place. You can share as much or as little as you'd like." One by one, the stories poured out. "My daughter hasn't visited in months. She only calls when she needs money. My caregiver said I was too old to make decisions. She's been taking things from my house. My son told me no one respects me because I don't have savings." Each voice cracked open the next. Until finally, the man who hadn't slept, Mr. Dalton, spoke. "My grandson convinced me to invest in a renovation project," he said, voice shaking. "Said it would double my savings. I signed some papers. I didn't realize he'd put my house up as collateral." Gloria stiffened. The words stabbed through her like lightning. She knew this pain, knew the shame behind the confession, knew what it meant to feel your own blood turn its back on you. When Mr. Dalton started crying, something in Gloria broke open too. This wasn't just her story. This wasn't just her wound. This was a silent epidemic, people being dismissed, manipulated, diminished, simply because they had grown older and softer. A dark truth twisted in Gloria's chest. If she hadn't fought back, she might have become one of these untold stories too. She wiped her eyes discreetly, but the weight of what she had discovered stayed with her. And it wasn't just a discovery. It was a call to action, an escalation she couldn't ignore. Over the next weeks, Gloria attended every meeting. She listened, took notes, offered comfort, and quietly observed patterns: financial manipulation, emotional abuse, subtle coercion, and the unspoken loneliness that made people vulnerable. She wasn't alone in this work. Lydia visited more often now, helping wherever she could, bringing baked goods, taking notes for Jan, offering hugs to strangers who had forgotten what kindness felt like. Daniel attended a meeting once. He sat beside Gloria with tears shining in his eyes as he listened to people describe the very behavior he had once witnessed in Lydia's parents. Afterward, he whispered to her, "Mom, we have to do something." Yes, Gloria thought, we do. The escalation sharpened 2 weeks later when a woman named Marie came to the group trembling, clutching a folder of bank statements. "My son is taking money out of my account," she whispered. "Thousands." I confronted him, and he told me I must have forgotten spending it myself. The room fell silent. Gloria felt her breath tighten. That was it. The line. The moment when listening was no longer enough, she reached for Marie's hand. "You didn't forget, and you're not alone." Then Gloria stood, slowly, purposefully. "I'm not a lawyer," she said, meeting every eye in the room. "But I spent 40 years as a nurse. I know how to document injuries, even the ones you can't see. What you all have lived through. It's not weakness, it's not confusion, it's mistreatment." Heads lifted, eyes widened. Jan nodded at her, encouraging her to continue. "I don't know exactly how yet," Gloria said, voice steady, "but I want to help us build something stronger than a meeting, something that protects people before they break." The room grew warmer, not physically, but emotionally, like a quiet fire had been lit in the center. Mr. Dalton whispered, "What kind of something?" "A place that stops people from being taken advantage of," Gloria answered. "A place that teaches seniors how to recognize the signs. A place where they can get legal advice. A place where no one has to feel ashamed again." A soft murmur spread through the group. Hope, hesitant, fragile, but real. Lydia's eyes glistened with pride. Jan smiled with something like relief. "Gloria, I think it's time we built exactly that." Yes, it was time. Something inside Gloria settled into certainty. The same certainty she felt the night she decided to become a nurse. The night she decided to raise Daniel alone. The night she stood against the Caraways. A life could break. A heart could break. But purpose? Purpose could be rebuilt from ashes. As the meeting ended, several members hugged Gloria. Others thanked her. Some simply touched her arm, grateful for a voice that spoke what they'd been afraid to say. Gloria walked outside, into the soft blue twilight of Maple Ridge. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and distant chimney smoke. She looked up at the sky and smiled. The darkness she had lived through was no longer just a wound. It was fuel, and she was ready to build something brighter than all the shadows that had tried to dim her. Before she left the parking lot, she paused beside her car and whispered, "If you're still with me through this part of the journey, take a moment to like and subscribe. It helps more hearts find stories like this, stories where quiet strength becomes a spark for something bigger." She opened the car door, heart steady, resolve deep. Gloria wasn't just healing anymore. She was rising. And Maple Ridge was about to rise with her. Winter crept into Maple Ridge quietly, frosting rooftops and whispering through the pine trees that lined the valley. But inside Gloria Whitmore's heart, something far louder was awakening, a conviction that had been growing steadily since the night she stood up to the Caraways. It pulsed stronger with every story she heard at the community hall, every tear she held, every hand she squeezed. And now, it was time. The final spark came on a snowy morning when Gloria stopped by the pharmacy to pick up her prescriptions. As she waited in line, she overheard a familiar voice, a shaky, wavering one she recognized instantly. "Mrs. Talbot." "No, dear," Mrs. Talbot murmured to the pharmacist. I didn't buy those gift cards. I think someone took my wallet again." The pharmacist frowned. "Do you know who might have?" "My nephew," her voice cracked. "He said he'd help me with shopping, but he took my debit card instead." Gloria stepped forward. "Mrs. Talbot." The old woman turned, her face crumpling in relief the moment she saw her. "Oh, Gloria. I didn't want to bother you again." "You're never a bother," Gloria said firmly. "Come sit." She guided Mrs. Talbot to a small waiting bench. As the woman explained how her nephew had been draining her account little by little, lie by lie, something inside Gloria collapsed. Not in defeat, but in a breaking open. A fracture of compassion and anger that flooded her with clarity. Enough. This was happening too often, too quietly, to too many people who had no one left to defend them. Gloria felt the collapse inside herself, the grief of what she'd endured, the stories she'd heard, the truth she could no longer turn away from. But collapse, she realized, wasn't an ending. It was the push before the rise. She placed her hand over Mrs. Talbot's trembling ones. "You're not alone anymore," the old woman cried softly into her shoulder. And that was it. The moment Gloria crossed the line between witness and warrior. Within a week, Gloria requested a meeting at Maple Ridge City Hall. She stood in front of the oak-paneled council chambers, clutching a binder full of stories, names, documents, and handwritten letters from seniors who had suffered in silence. Jan, Lydia, Mr. Dalton, and several others came to support her. When the council chair called her name, Gloria rose slowly, smoothing the front of her winter coat. She stepped up to the podium, the room full of officials watching her with polite curiosity. "Mrs. Whitmore," the chair said, "you asked to speak on behalf of a local concern?" "Yes," Gloria answered, her voice steady. "A concern that affects more people in this town than any of us want to believe." She opened her binder. "I've spent the last 2 months listening to the people you see here behind me, people who've lived in Maple Ridge their entire lives, people who served this community, raised families, built homes, and trusted the world to treat them with dignity." She paused. "Instead, they've been stolen from, manipulated, belittled, exploited by the very people who should have cared for them." The room shifted, the silence rippling like a held breath. Gloria lifted a trembling, handwritten letter. "This is from a woman whose son emptied her savings and made her believe she had forgotten. This one," she held up another, "is from a man whose grandson forged his signature to fund a non-existent business. And this," she touched Mr. Dalton's shoulder gently, "is the story of a veteran who nearly lost his home." Her voice deepened. "This isn't weakness. This is abuse." A murmur moved through the council. "But we can fix this," Gloria continued. "We can build something together. Something strong enough to keep this from happening again." The council chair leaned forward. "Mrs. Whitmore, what exactly are you proposing?" Gloria straightened, her heart pounding. "A foundation, a safe haven, a place for seniors to get legal guidance, emotional support, financial education, and community connection. A place where they're seen, a place where they matter." She drew a breath. "I'm calling it Hands of Dignity." Jan reached up to wipe a tear. Lydia squeezed Daniel's hand. Mr. Dalton closed his eyes, as if hearing a prayer. Gloria continued, "With your approval, I'll use my own savings to launch it. And with your help, Maple Ridge will become a town where no elder suffers in silence again." The room fell into a profound stillness. Then the council chair spoke softly. "Mrs. Whitmore, Maple Ridge would be honored to stand with you." Relief washed over her like warm sunlight in winter. The motion passed unanimously. Hands of Dignity was born. In the months that followed, Gloria worked harder than she had since her nursing days. But this time, the work was hers, her mission, her gift, her answer to the world's quiet cruelty. The foundation opened in a renovated brick space downtown. Volunteers poured in, donations trickled, then streamed. Seniors came through the door, shy, wary, afraid, and left lighter, safer, seen. Workshops taught financial self-defense. Support circles healed emotional wounds. Lawyers offered guidance. Meals were shared. Stories exchanged. Friendships formed. And every time Gloria walked through those doors, she felt Walter beside her, the husband who had believed in her strength long before she fully understood it. One afternoon, she stepped out into the lobby and saw something that made her breath catch. Mrs. Talbot, teaching a younger volunteer how to fill out a bank protection form. Gloria smiled. Healing wasn't just happening, it was spreading. Months later, the mayor invited Gloria to speak at the Maple Ridge Spring Community Dinner. The event was packed: families, seniors, volunteers, officials. Lydia and Daniel sat in the front row, hands intertwined. They had set their boundaries and kept them. The Caraways had lost control. Love had won. When Gloria walked up to the microphone, the room fell silent. She scanned the crowd, faces old and young, families ordinary and extraordinary, souls who had suffered and survived. She took a breath. "My name is Gloria Whitmore," she began. "I spent my life tending the wounds of others. I never expected the deepest wound to be caused by people who said they loved me." A hush swept the room. "But pain," she continued, "isn't always an ending. Sometimes it's an invitation to rise, to rebuild, to protect not just ourselves, but each other." She looked toward the table where her seniors sat. "That's why Hands of Dignity exists. Not because I was strong, but because we were hurting, and because we chose to turn that hurt into something that lifts us all." A soft wave of emotion passed through the crowd. "And if there's one thing I've learned," Gloria said gently, "it's this. You don't need wealth to make a difference. You just need a heart brave enough to keep caring." Applause rose slow at first, then swelling into something thunderous and full. Gloria stood tall, tears warming her eyes. Later that night, she stepped outside into the cool air. The moon hung low over Maple Ridge, glowing like a promise. Lydia and Daniel walked up beside her. "You did that," Lydia whispered. "All of it." Gloria smiled softly. "No, we did it together." Daniel kissed her forehead. "I'm proud of you, Mom." She wrapped her arms around both of them. "I'm proud of all of us." As the three of them stood beneath the moonlight family, chosen and strengthened, Gloria felt a peace she hadn't known in years. Not because her life was perfect, but because it finally felt true. Before heading home, she turned to the camera of her mind and to anyone listening and said, "If Gloria's journey touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help more people discover stories where quiet strength grows into something powerful." Thanks for listening. Which part of her story stayed with you? Tell us in the comments. You're not alone. Your voice truly matters.